Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass with JayBee, Millie, and Smash!
Okay, so in this episode, we're going to be taking a look at Scooby Doo, the Sword and the Scoob. So, I know this is one that JayBee and I had seen before, and obviously for doing that, it was like the first Scooby Doo video we really did with Smash. It was for their channel, right?
Yeah,
yes.
way back when, and we're actually just a couple of weeks from the first year anniversary of the Sword and the Scoob, I think.
Yes, it came out this month of last year.
Yeah, I think so.
So we are going full circle with this, which is absolutely incredible. Oh, and it just brings me back. I feel so proud about the show when I think about how we literally started reviewing Zombie Island, and now we're back to the one that we remember coming out and getting on release day.
Not only that, but this is like the last one before Courage the Cowardly Dog, which is the most recent movie. So it's kind of like, oh my gosh. We're nearly at the end of what we tried to start doing. Like, obviously we've added to the plan.
I don't know how you dare. I think we've smashed it. Literally, we've smashed it. We've smashed Smash.
Not all of them.
In every conceivable way.
So for those of you that haven't seen Sword and the Scoob yet, we normally go over the plot at this point. So let's do that before JayBee makes this weird again. In Scooby Doo, Sword and the Scoob, the gang are going over to England because they're kind of looking into Shaggy's heritage. It's found that he was from this town called Norville, and they're going to go and visit there and just take a look. It's more of a modern Scooby film. It's got quite a few technology references, and mobiles and stuff are quite prominent throughout. So like we say, they go to England, they see the town of Norville, and then we see what I'd consider a relatively new thing for Scooby as well, in that they kind of time travel back to the past. I say that slightly reserved because obviously there's a twist at the end in that it wasn't time travel, it was staged, but they go back in time to see what the town would have been like, and kind of the Camelot and all those kind of King Arthur references and everything would have been like in the time that they were kind of set. So they see this throughout. There's some really nice, interesting moments with Velma and Merlin, because we all know some issues that she has with magic and things being real. So some interesting moments throughout, and it goes through the kind of history of King Arthur, Lancelot, those kind of references, along with Shaggy's history as well. Ultimately, to find that the town had staged everything because they were scared that Shaggy would try and make claim to the land. And again, some really nice references around that point. So there's lots of things that I'm excited to talk about.
Yeah, me too. But I guess to properly from my point of view, because obviously we weren't really on talking terms way back when we saw it with Smash for the first time. But what was your headspace going into this before you saw it, Smash?
I was very excited, going into this one for a couple of reasons. First of all, I just want to say for this trailer in particular, it suddenly looked like they had this budget for this trailer. I was like, wow, this the trailer for this movie just seemed almost I probably wouldn't put it up there, but almost like a theatrical films trailer. And I was like, this is a huge upgrade from the last few movies, cough cough, especially Return to Zombie Island, where I could have literally made that trailer in my sleep. But that's beside the point. And I kind of was wondering why suddenly there was this huge budget for it, but it also made me wonder if we were going into this new era of Scooby, because from the trailer alone, we saw so many callbacks and references and actual scenes from previous Scooby-Doo iterations and series and movies and stuff. And so going into it, I was just like, holy crap, how are they going to, basically discuss all of this, especially with time travel? But I also was worried from what we've seen, the last few movies with Velma. I was like, time travel, I was like, I want this, but I don't know if I want it right now with how Velma is. So I think that was kind of my initial thoughts going into it.
Yeah, see, I think I agree with what you're saying in that time travel, especially with how what Velma did to Curse of the 13th Ghost, it's kind of like, oh, great. We're not even that it was like the 3 movies together, but like, oh, it's a 4th one that's just going to be about Velma debunking something that's happened and making it not real. It's just like, oh, let's not continue that. And I really wasn't excited to hear that they were doing time travel. But we're going to get into how they did that. And I think it's with Zombie Island and my fears about that, it wasn't as bad as it initially seemed.
Yes.
I want to say. Okay,
Me too.
so starting with kind of what happened in the movie, the plot, you start off with this very kind of classical feel, and it's that someone on a plane's watching TV. There's some references to Demon Dog, and they talk about cat people. And when they did that, I was like, Zombie Island's out of the way. Let's never mention this again. You did the return. It's okay. But like, I don't know why. When they said cat people, I was like, ah. But I instantly got like excited for this movie just from seeing that classical artwork, because I was like, oh, I feel like we're gonna get some like original Scooby feels here. Even though I'd not really seen the trailer, I was like, I feel like this is gonna be nostalgic.
I mean, I think I'm probably gonna sound like an absolute novice with this question, but I take it that Thundar the Barbarian was an actual cartoon, but if so, is this kind of little clip at the start taken directly from an episode of that, or was this just reanimated in that old style today? I don't know if anyone knows that.
Yeah, no, so Thundar the Barbarian was an original Hanna-Barbera cartoon, and so that little clip that they pulled in at the beginning is actually a clip from an original Thundar episode. They just kind of redubbed it with the voice actors in this movie, so that it didn't sound so old or whatever, but that is pulled directly from something that already exists.
That is very, very interesting, and already I feel like we've already got a lot set up. Like, the setting in and of itself is interesting. It's on a plane, and I want to say, and I didn't notice this the first time watching it, but I noticed that they almost had to force this line, but when the monster's attacking the plane, one of the passengers saying, oh, it's eating all the aluminium. And obviously, aluminium to us is just aluminium, but in America it's aluminum. So I'm like, okay, so already they're kind of setting us up that they're going to the UK, or at least this flight might be. Well, that's the interesting thing. It sounded like the owner, Mr. HB, decided to send them to the UK separately. But then by them saying, oh, it's aluminium, it's kind of like, well, are they returning back? Were they already headed to the UK? So I don't know, but it's good to kind of get that visualization of, yes, we're going to the place where they all speak funny.
See, one thing I want to say about that monster on the wings, it reminded me of El Chupacabra.
Yeah, I wrote that down.
Yeah. I really love this scene at the beginning because it's actually a direct callback to an episode of the original Twilight Zone, which I'm like still trying to get through. There's so many freaking episodes of that. But I actually have not watched that full episode yet, but I just knew about it and stuff. But so I thought that was kind of really cool, that they like tried to recreate, kind of like a horror, show on here. And that creature actually is based on that Twilight Zone creature that was on that, in that episode and whatever. So I don't know, I got a little excitement. I was like, ooh, I know what this is.
That's incredible. And I think overall the whole vibe of this movie is different. I don't know if it took me out because I was actively going, okay, I'm going to pay attention to this, because the first time I saw this, I wasn't thinking about it as, oh, I'm going to review this. It's just, okay, I just need to make sure to take what I'm thinking and actually say it, because obviously we were doing it as part of your collaborative reaction video, which was just so much fun. Actually, if people haven't watched that, link to Smash's channel in the description, because I still go back and watch that, even though I'm a lot older now, but I feel nice and young when I listen to it. But this time I was thinking, okay, I'm going to pay attention to everything. And I've noticed that everyone looks quite different in this movie. I don't know if it was the same for last time, but Daphne's back to being very pale with the black eyes, whereas I could have sworn before she was almost like a hot, spicy Latina.
This is going to sound like a JayBee level analysis, but I feel like her look changes in this movie. Like, I feel like she starts off with kind of like the Scooby Doo, where are you? Kind of, I think that's what I'm thinking of. The Scooby Doo, where are you look? And then it transitions a bit more into like Be Cool, in that, like, for example, her legs are over elongated like they are in Be Cool. And I feel like throughout her character has these inconsistencies with how they look. Like, they started off with the iconic kind of outfit and shape and stuff. And then, I don't know, like I said, like, I just feel the legs got elongated, then even the slight colour tinges to the dress change. I don't know. I felt like their character changed a bit.
I mean, did they look like this in the last movie, is what I'm thinking to myself, and I can't quite remember.
No, so I noticed this instantly when I watched the trailer for this movie. First of all, the last 3 movies, Daphne has, or at least two of them, maybe not Happy Halloween, but Daphne had purple eyes, and now she's back to black. But what they've done, actually, if you know your Scooby and you're a weirdo like me and pay attention to these details, they've actually gone back to the color palette and semi art style of like the Franken Creepy, Moon Monster Madness, because those ones were a lot more pale. And so I instantly was like, oh, we're going back to that animation, which I don't know if they have like different studios or something animating each movie or something. And I'm like, oh, did they go back to whoever animated those movies? And that's why it's looking like this. But you guys are definitely right. They changed between the last movie and this one.
See, this is kind of in my notes further on, but I feel like because we're talking about Daphne and the look, I'll kind of say it now. I feel like when she was in her original outfit, it was almost confused. Like I said, I feel like I saw changes in how she looked from like the standard look to then features were changing. But from the second she gets put in the kind of armor costume, from then on, I'm like, okay, this is the Daphne you wanted to make in this, clearly, because it's kind of like as soon as she gets that outfit, she's in her comfort zone. And it's almost like I can see how this is like 2 movies on from Curse of the 13th Ghost, because she's taking that strong character again. Like, I'm skipping way ahead, but there's one scene where Fred's kind of like her cheerleader, and she's like taking on all these kind of men at different sporting events and stuff. And it's like, I just see this link between the Curse of the 13th Ghost and this, where Fred's like, I want to be a cheerleader. And she's there in that kind of like powerful outfit, just like, okay, like, I'm fine, I can do all this. And everyone else kind of takes a back seat. And I don't know why. It was a dynamic I really liked in that movie. And I just think there's some really nice, almost like callback to it there.
She's definitely perfect in purple. I'll give her that much.
Perfect in purple.
Okay, so going back to that kind of opening sequence, Scooby opens a parachute, catches the monster that's on the side of the plane, and then you get that kind of classic unmasking style thing. I don't know, it feels nice, it feels comfortable, it feels very Scooby.
Now, I do know that the first time watching this, I felt very, very uncomfortable hearing Kate Micucci's voice for the first time.
Yes.
Like, because growing up on, you know, like, say, Nicole Jaffe, BJ Ward, I'm like, okay, so Velma is almost like if I had a gran or like a nan, like, they'd be kind of nice, just like cute, soft-sounding person. And then hearing Kate Micucci for the first time, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? But I want to say it annoyed me a lot less this time because I was more used to Kate Micucci. And I think this is probably one of her better, less annoying performances, but definitely at the start, it still managed to take me out of it for a little bit. But that's kind of the only thing I've got to say about before the kind of opening titles montage.
Yeah, what I'll agree with you is it wasn't as jarring as the first time we heard it. I'd agree with that, but I don't think it's her at her best. Like, there's some Scooby movies where she sounds perfectly fine, And this was one where I think Rihanna described it as it's almost like a lot of it comes through like her nasal passages. It's very like nasally and high pitched. She does that again in this, and it was like, okay, we're doing that again, are we? Fine.
It's just a shame though, because in Be Cool, she's like up there with Mindy Cohn for me in Be Cool. Whereas I just don't know. It fluctuates
all over the place, and like this is the only good thing I have to say about the Scooby Doo Where Are You Now thing. But like when she was herself, she's a great Velma. When she tries to be Velma, it's not so great. I don't know, that sounds bad, but like naturally she just feels like Velma. When she was there just talking as herself, I was like, yeah, I get it, that's great. And then when she tries, it's like, oh,
yeah, like naturally.
I wish you wouldn't, you know.
Naturally, like face camera, natural stuff. She is as much Velma as Matthew Lillard is Shaggy, I'd say. But it's just the kind of, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like a confidence thing, or maybe the studio's like, oh, people like it when Velma's like this or whatever. But you know, it's a shame. But I think now I give a lot more respect to Kate Micucci because I know that she is so good in a lot of things. So I didn't mind it too much here.
So again, kind of opening sequence, I think it's a relatively fun way that they brought in the origins into it. Like, oh, well, these two are eating food on the plane like, and they weren't meant to, which is why we've got their reports here. Hey, do you want to take a look at your heritage? This is where we're going. We
should do one of those tests for a video, you know. Like, if we ever, like, do some, like, weird challenge, like, where we do something based on every single movie that we've reviewed, I think this is the episode where we should all do, like, heritage tests.
It does sound fun, I will admit, but...
You can get them, though. You can get, like, spit kits.
Yeah, my auntie does family trees and stuff. And so for, I want to say Christmas about 3 years ago, my uncle paid for her to have, like, this full, like, chart of all the percentages broken down and stuff.
I reckon I'm 50% Indian, 50% Kryptonian. That's my theory. But we'll leave that up to the comment section. Just comment down below. Let us know. Let us know your theories, and we'll see in X amount of years or whatever if you're correct or not.
One thing that I want to say, again, about the story at this point, I feel like they wanted the movie to be in England because, like, and that they didn't want to let anything sway that, because they say it's North England, which is near Scotland, and the town sounds so Scottish, but it's almost like they were like, no, England just sounds more what people associate with the UK. Let's do England.
Then again, maybe that's because they've done Scotland quite a few times, but then Scotland's got an iconic monster, right?
Yeah, but it's kind of like, if you're going to do Scotland, you do the monster.
England's monster's just Blackpool, isn't it?
Because, like, see, this is the thing, it's, and I'm gonna sound like, I really like this movie, I don't know why I'm doing this, but like, the titles were like, okay, we're doing London, let's do like, England is London, let's do a London montage. Yeah. And the titles were so clearly London. And let me tell you, London is south of England. They said they specifically wanted to do North England, which is where we are. It costs us £200 on the train to get to London. It's that far. I've researched this because we wanted to look at going, but like, that's another story. It is miles and miles and miles away. Yeah. So it's like, okay, you've kind of gone a bit off here because all that stuff in the titles, that's a couple of 100 miles that way. I'm sorry.
And don't call it jolly old England either, because it might be old, but it's anything but jolly.
Poor England.
Oh gosh.
Well, luckily no one from the UK listens to this. It's all American. So if you're planning on coming to the UK, there's some really nice places. But yeah, overall, probably a bit of a scary place to visit.
Okay, so something sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, before we got too far, I also wanted to point out that the airline owner, HB, I can't remember his name, but HB, it was just supposed to be like a reference to Hanna-Barbera.
You said that, didn't you, JayBee? Because initially, I thought it sounded like HP because they were doing like lots of UK references at that point. They were talking like fish and chips and all that kind of stuff that typically UK.
Yeah. Are you thinking Harry Potter?
No, like there's this thing in the UK called HP sauce, and it's named after the Houses of Parliament. There's a picture of it on the front.
Daddy sauce.
So I was like, okay, that's a really weird reference if that's what you're trying to do. And then JayBee was like, no, they said HB like Hanna-Barbera, I was like, okay, sorry. I misheard. They talk about something else at this point that I feel like is quite interesting. I think Fred does it, and it kind of is something that I guess we've talked about, but I feel like they don't too much, and that's when they're like, because they're like talking about going to London, and he's like, oh, we're not in mystery solving for money, like how are we gonna do that? And it's kind of like we've talked about them flying over like all over the world or sailing, being able to afford to import the mystery machine in. And then for this one, just because they want to give some poor passenger a motive to have like hung off the side of one of the wings of the plane, they're like, oh yeah, airfare's just so expensive. And it's like, oh, it's kind of been everywhere already. I don't think it's an issue.
Yeah, like if they can make it to Australia, they can make it to England. They can do something. But I suppose now that we've discussed the intro a bit and the travelling montage, I kind of want to give a huge, like, not congratulations, what's the right word? Like, huge respect to the casting people or whoever made this decision. But I really do appreciate, from a UK perspective, how they got roles for Jason Isaacs and Nick Frost, because I want to say that both of them are very prominent in the UK, and so it's like, I'm really happy that they didn't just, or that they just actively said, okay, let's get some UK people that are well known and have them in here. It's like saying, okay, this is set in England, let's find, you know, UK based talent. So of course Jason Isaacs, Lucius Malfoy, along with some other roles.
Not only that, but you said something that was quite funny when we were talking about this. You were like, oh yeah, they probably just told him it was part of the Scoob script and just got him to read it out anyway, and that the way they got 2 movies from him from the price of 1.
They're also Dick Dastardly, aren't they?
They are.
Yes.
And Nick Frost, who I absolutely love. They can often be seen teaming up with Simon Pegg in like the Cornetto trilogy. They were Santa Claus in like a Doctor Who episode. Like, I absolutely love Nick Frost. So it was so good to see both of them kind of in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so like you say, that's kind of the titles. The titles, they were nice. Like I said, for me it was just like geography, where I was like, oh gosh, this is funny.
Didn't do their research.
No. And I don't know why, like, I'm not normally a brat about stuff like this, I don't think, but like for some reason today I was. But I really like the titles. I kind of like the music in the background as well. And then we start off in the town of Norville de something.
Norville de something, yes.
Exactly.
Very right.
And I really, it was kind of like, I don't know why, but I saw parallels with Oakhaven in Witch's Ghost.
Yeah, me too.
I think because they were setting up for a fair, like a thing, and they were trying to make it look a little bit behind in time. I don't know, it just blended with that quite nicely. And so again, I was like, oh, it's quite classic. I like this. I'm happy. And then, so they talk about what's left of Camelot.
Yeah, they also talk about, like, I don't know if it's UK food, but like, do other places have spotted date?
I think it's a very traditional UK dessert.
Are we gonna get demonetized for saying spotted date?
Probably not.
Dick Dastardly.
Probably not.
So bangers and mash is another kind of cool thing. Fish and chips, and of course Shaggy and Scooby are like, yay, fish and chips, which is amazing to see. Although I've got to say, the kind of side characters that they have in this Oakhaven-like town, this Norville Oakhaven, I don't believe that they're UK-based one bit. Like, oh, I think it was the lady's accent in particular. I was a bit like, okay, I respect it, but it's like they just watched Downton Abbey.
But see, this is the thing, I was like, even Jason Isaacs doesn't sound that English in this.
True.
Because I like re-looked at the casting like, okay, it's him. I don't know why I'm being so picky with this. This is... I feel like when we watched this the first time, we weren't like, this is England and this is what England is. Whereas now we're like, oh, we're getting old.
I feel like Dick Dastardly sounds more UK-ic in Scoob than like this what was he? It's like King Arthur sounded in this. Because very, very American, but you know, we love to see it. And Jason Isaacs again is just really cool to have in the film.
Okay, so getting back to the plot, so like we say, they were talking about Camelot, so we know that the kind of King Arthur mythology and everything is going to be part of it. We find out that Shaggy has a medallion, which is kind of like this artifact, and that's when everyone kind of becomes like definitely aware that he is a descendant. That's why he's there, and everyone kind of starts staring at him with that. It's one of those ones where instantly you know who the villain is. Because that librarian was, like, weird. It was like she was trying to hide her face. She was, like, sinking down in a chair. And then, like, she was just a pretty awful character. And then when, you know, the evil Morgan Le Fay, I think I've pronounced that right, swoops in, it's like, okay, well, we've met 2 women so far. And, again, it's someone that's not really in a costume. You can see that it's a choice between 2 people. And it looks exactly like the librarian. So it's like... Okay.
Yeah. And definitely, I think even then, going back to that reaction video, I think we both called that very early on, but I guess a bit more appreciation for the movie. I don't know why, but going through that library scene, I was really happy to hear Matthew Lillard again. I think they, again, do an amazing job as Shaggy, and it was just, I don't know, I guess those little things you don't really think about because we're used to them now. But I just really do like them in the role.
For me, it was a little bit later on in the movie. It was... Okay, what was it? It was after the king... After he met King Arthur and King Arthur was acting a bit strange, but just before they'd said the lock screen had to stay the same, he had this bit of a monologue. And I was like... And I've, like, again, like a Lillard fangirl because I've got, like, a little love heart in my book, like, code for, yeah, that was amazing. But yeah, their voice in a few of the movies recently has just kind of been like, not noticed it before, but that works really well.
I would really like Matthew Lillard to go on like Frank Welker has for Fred. Like, if Matthew Lillard is still the voice of Shaggy when, like, our kids have kids, I'll be a happy bloke.
Me too. Okay.
You'll be a happy bloke.
Yeah. Aww. So where were we? So they've been in the library. They're about to go back outside because they know that there's some kind of town fair thing happening. Daphne starts dancing with no music, and I feel like I've not fully appreciated that a lot of the kind, because obviously been around JayBee, I'm completely aware of all the Daphne like gifts and stuff that there is, and I feel like that's one of the most common ones is Daphne doing that dance. And that's from this movie. Yeah. That's certainly one that you send us all, like, at least like weekly. 8 times
a day or something. No, Daphne dancing, it gives me so much life, so much joy, so much pleasure. Like, I could watch Daphne dancing all day. I think she's a real talent.
But at the same time, I was kind of like, are we kind of starting to see the be cool Daphne in this movie? Because she's certainly been, like, more out there and different than normal.
I think the most be cool thing she does is when they're, like, falling down and she's making, like, Spitfire plane noises. Those right. Be cool.
So yeah, while she's dancing, they see Morgan Le Fay and they kind of make a few jokes like, oh, is it like the parachuting person or like skydiving? And they end up running away, and that's when they're sent back in time. Now, I want to talk about this transition in time, what they did, because I think for Scooby fans, this is something that I personally want to say they did really well in this movie. Kind of like the reflection of things that's happened through time. So it's a culmination of the series, it's the movies, because you see Mystery Incorporated, Happy Halloween, Moon Monster Madness, Zombie Island, Be Cool, Pup Named Scooby Doo, and JayBee and I'll admit, we literally paused this on every scene. You got to see Bo, who was missing from Return to Zombie Island, and you also got to see Scrappy, who was missing from The Curse of the 13th Ghost. You only see Scrappy's like leg and tail, but it's there, and for Bo, it's barely a silhouette, but they're there. And it was like, you couldn't have done this 2 movies ago when you were supposed to.
But I'm thinking of
True.
Like Moonscar Mansion being in The Gourmet Ghost. I don't know. Could they be hinting at stuff? Because there's a lot of scenes from Zombie Island that you can choose. And so to pick one with Bowen after they were like absent, even like not even mentioned or recreated.
And of all the series they could have done and all the scenes from those series, they picked one with Scrappy in it. I feel like it was deliberate to do both those things.
But then again, knowing Warner Bros., they probably just did it to make him barely visible as, again, another thing. Like, see, we don't like
I don't even want to say it's Warner Bros. I almost want to say that there was a sassy producer for this one. I don't know who produced it. But, like, it is so, like, you can barely see it. You do have to pause it. That I feel like they almost did it just to sass Warner Brothers a little bit. Like, let's see if you notice this. Because unless you take the time to pause it, you're going to miss it. And so I kind of just, like, in my head want to be like, yeah, okay. They were just showing off a little bit there and Warner Brothers didn't pick up on it till it was too late.
I kind of see that. And I guess, to be honest, if I was working in the movies, that's what I would kind of do. Or at least I'd like to think that's what I'd do. But there's a lot of stuff here, like Captain Caveman, Cleopatra from Where's My Mummy, a pup named Scooby Doo. And it's like, okay, we could kind of theorize that all this is a part of the same timeline, which you take it is, but now it definitely is. So, I don't know. Isn't a pup named Scooby Doo set in Coolsville, though? And obviously they say that they're from Crystal Cove, which has changed to Crystal Covia, which does tie it to Mystery Incorporated, but then I think from there we assume that they were maybe born. No, but that, see, it's implausible though, because that would mean that they were born and went to like the equivalent of preschool in Coolsville, and then every single one of them and their parents then moved to Crystal Cove, which, again, I can buy a couple of them moving there, but maybe I'm getting too wrapped up in the timeline. But I'm like, why did that happen? Maybe Coolsville became Crystal Cove, but then Crystal Cove was named because of a thing that happened ages ago. It's weird. Maybe that's a separate discussion to have. But again, I do want to dive into the timeline at some point before I swim with the fishes.
I just think, I think it was done nicely. I feel like if you're going to show time traveling anyway, it kind of was a bit of a let's do an appreciation for Scooby history for a few minutes here. Let's take some iconic things with us. We'll show those, make people happy. And if it was a sassy producer, then I respect it, because just to like have that tiny little bit of Scrappy and that tiny little bit of Bo when they were like quite prominently missing from the last couple of movies, it's like, okay.
I just want more Scooby Doo. That's it. If like by the time I'm passing on to the next realm, if Scooby Doo makes an appearance by then, I'm gonna be happy, because I miss them a lot and I want them to come back.
Where's Scooby Doo?
So, Swatch, what did you think to this time traveling scene with all like the flashbacks and stuff?
I was super excited for it. I mean, I actually have it like playing right now because I was like, oh, I need to go back and look at that. I will say there's some weird shots in it that I'm like, if we go too deep, it doesn't make sense. Like the Cleopatra shot, that was part of the prologue of the movie, so the gang never saw that, you know, but it's fine, it's whatever. There's another shot that was like, that doesn't make sense either. Sorry, I'm going through it, like trying to go. Well, what's also funny is some of the Be Cool shots are from the intro. You know, not from an actual episode.
The head swishing part.
Yeah.
But then
which I thought was funny. Oh,
interesting, because in every memory with the whole gang, who saw that? I guess maybe they took a picture of it.
Yeah, from like whose perspective?
Yeah, true. And then there's also a shot of Captain Caveman, which makes no sense. I was like, the only time they've interacted with Captain Caveman besides Scoob is in the Laugh Olympics series. But I was just like, why is I mean maybe that was thrown in there to kind of hint at how this movie ends, but it just kind of was weird that there was a random shot of Captain Caveman.
And it wasn't just a kind of blink and you miss it type thing, whereas like people that know Hanna-Barbera and the history of cartoons can go, oh, that's interesting. I feel like it lingered on Captain Caveman for longer than a lot, and maybe that's a bit of promotion again, like we were saying. Maybe in a few movies' time it will be Scooby Doo meets Captain Caveman, maybe the Flintstones are there. So again, probably looking back at it, it might make more sense. Or it could just be one of Daphne's memories because she likes them hairy. I don't know. Who knows what's going on in the mind of these people? But Millie, you look confused. Do you think that maybe they should have added in more? So I guess it would have been fun to add in some of the live action things, just because it would have been like kind of mixed media.
I guess what I'm thinking is like I can't actually work out why they did what they did, like why they chose the scenes that they did, why there was a few irrelevant characters towards the end, almost like they'd run out of footage even though there was like 50 years worth of footage in existence. It's kind of like I don't quite get it, but at the same time it was nice and it was fun, like especially I don't know, I've seen Scrappy and Bio, I was like okay, that was fun, but then at the same time, it's kind of like they lost interest and was like, hey, that's like a Hanna-Barbera thing. Let's like throw that in there. It's fine.
But you'd think then that they would have put like Blue Falcon stuff in, like, oh, let go watch Scoob, everyone.
My thing that feels like it makes me feel like they just kind of grabbed what was easily available. Because there's like 4 or 5 shots from the same scene of Mr. Incorporated when Velma's going and showing off all the costumes in the museum from the very first episode. I'm like, there's almost every shot of her, like, you know, Minor, 49er, Captain Cut, you know, like, I was just like, okay, why are we showing that same scene like 5 different times when, you know, I'm like, you could still do Mr. Incorporated, but do different shots. I don't know. It just felt like they grabbed, you know, they were just like, oh, we need to throw stuff in. Hurry, just here's some scenes, shoot them in there.
Yeah, and it was kind of like they didn't want to venture too far. Like you said, they just used, you know, the same kind of scene from Mystery Incorporated. Zombie Island had 2 references, but they were split apart, so it's kind of like, and one, you only really knew it was Zombie Island because Beau's shoulder was in it. Other than that, you could have passed it off as Witch's Ghost because of the outfits and things. So it's kind of like there would almost been lazy there, just like, oh, let's just take 2 things from Zombie Island, but split it apart so it's like we've used more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that was true. I mean, I guess it was just fun for callbacks at the end of the day. But yeah,
it made it enjoyable to watch because, like we said, we were like pausing all the time, like, oh, this is from this. Oh my gosh, can you see who's in the background there? It's the return of Scrappy. Like, it was fun to do. It was. But then after they've had this scene, they all wake up. Velma finds out she's got no signal. And ultimately, they kind of head towards Camelot. Now, this is where I'm like, this is where Velma does something, and I'm like, okay, didn't pick up on that before, but she's all of a sudden got a hammer with her and she hammers off part of the castle wall. Like, do you see her inspecting it? And it's like, if you think you've travelled back in time and this is a castle with guards and stuff like that, do you want to start like hammering off bits of a wall? Are you like, okay?
I mean,
maybe call back to Zombie Island.
Maybe.
I reckon Daphne could make me Camelot.
God. Okay, and then we find out about. I'm banning you from this. As soon as Rihanna gets back, like, you're done.
What do you banning me from this?
I'm
kicked
sick
off.
of it. Okay, and then so we found out about Fred's parents again. So when I think is it King Arthur, Fred's like, oh, it reminds me of my dad, and I'm like, okay, which one? Because we've got Mystery Incorporated and we've just seen flashback scenes from Mystery Incorporated, but then is it in the continuation where we're still at the point where the mayor's the dad, or when the actual dads come back, or then are we like, if they're making the movies kind of fit in with things in the series as well, is it that Pirates Ahoy's in this continuity? Are we thinking of someone else entirely? And then Daphne's like, oh yeah, big meanie, and I'm like, okay, so which one's that? Like, does that fit with that one?
Mayor Dad, or I forget the name. Is it Brad Childs? Who's the actual father? So wait, then does that mean that potentially Brad Childs could be a sibling of Bobby Flay?
True.
So
You have a point.
it's
Fred's
confusing.
got a really interesting family tree, and I feel like it could almost be a video in itself. Just like, okay.
Honestly, someone should do that.
Yeah,
They
Fred should do the paternity test more than anyone, because we don't know where he comes from, but we love him.
Morgan Le Fay makes another appearance here. Like I say, I think it's an interesting enough villain, but I just feel like it's kind of obvious. I feel like I actually prefer the villains where it almost doesn't take a human form, because it's like more intrigue as to who it is.
I mean,
Yeah.
I question a lot of things in this movie in hindsight. I can buy the reveal, like, spoiler alert, like, it was kind of next to civilization all the time, but I know how angry people in the UK can get. I kind of refuse to believe that they went through that whole entire experience and they didn't, one, hear, like, any car horns of the outside world, or they didn't see any planes flying above.
See, I
The
can
plane
buy
thing,
that.
Yeah.
I can buy that, because if you're thinking the very north of England, JayBee, okay? Think up near the top of the Lake District. That's all countryside. I buy that there isn't going to be cars coming in and out of there, per se.
Tractors?
Yeah, but if you saw, the road was closed off anyway because they were doing work down there. So there's lots of, like, think about my parents' town. There's only 3 access points into the town. And when it was snowing last, 2 of them were cut off, so there was 1 road into the town. Put a sign up there that you can't use the road, and then you're not going to have traffic coming through. Like, the north of the UK is genuinely that desolate that it's possible. And all airports, I'd say the highest one was quite far below the Lake District.
But
I'd say it's feasible.
I guess so. I guess it's feasible, but I think that it's a lot for the people behind the plot to bank on. Because if that did happen, then it's over. I feel like maybe they would have had contingencies in place if that were to occur. You get what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I can buy that it didn't happen, but it's just a lot for the villains to say, like, did they check flight patterns? Did they make sure that they were doing it on the right day? Well, not really, because they didn't know that the gang were even arriving. So it's a bit, I don't know. It's there, I can believe it, but I also can't. But then again, there's like a talking dog in the movie, so I'm not going to be like analysing, oh, what's going to happen?
Okay, Smash, what did you think to the villain? And I guess on that as well, is this the villain that, did you expect this to be what the villain was like? Because for our DVD cover, and I don't think we saw the trailer, the villain looks like it's a dragon. You don't actually see Morgan Le Fay on the cover.
Right?
So it's like, okay, we're going to have a dragon villain. Oh, wait. The dragon's there for like 20 seconds? And then it's like a toy car that they're riding into the town? So it's not the villain at all? Okay. So yeah, what was your whole like perspective on Morgan Le Fay as the villain, and I guess the DVD cover too?
So, okay, first off, for the DVD cover, I want to say this is one of my absolute favorite covers for a Scooby movie. I think it looks gorgeous, and I think it's really cool how they did it. Like, it was unique. You know, they put Shaggy and Scooby's reflection on the sword as it's like flying, you know, through the air, dodging the dragon, and like Scooby's dog tag on his collar is coming out of the reflection. Anyway, really like obsessed with this cover art. But in terms of, and okay, I have to say too though, the dragon on the cover looks really good. The dragon in the movie does not.
Oh, not only does it look terrible, but its voice is awful as well.
Its voice, like, I want to.
Oh gosh,
I can't.
No.
Can't do the voice at all. Which R.I.P. because it's Greg Griffin who does it, and I'm like, what did they do to you?
I feel like it's not even that it's her fault, though. I feel like it's the
it's not.
direction of, okay, if you do the lines as you were doing them, and we're just going to make it sound really echoey, or like a radio's not getting the signal correctly on top of what you're normally doing. And it's like, oh, come on, that was just a bad idea to begin with. Like, I remember being really, like, almost in shock when JayBee was like, you know the person who plays the evil masked figure? They hired someone separate to do that. Like, they don't put the person who's voicing it in the costume and make them do it. It's a different person. You do know that, right? And so it's like, you could have maybe done this here. Like, give the dragon a different voice. If that's how you want to approach things normally, do it here, because that sounds absolutely awful.
I mean, it didn't really need a voice. I feel like they could have just like went to Frank Welker and say, make a random sound, and it would have been a really cool dragon effect.
Oh yeah. But in terms of like the villain Morgan Le Fay, I honestly was kind of disappointed, I'll admit. I have a struggle with these like human-esque villains. Like, they have to be really creepy or like really powerful for me to be like, ooh, this is cool. And I just feel like Morgan Le Fay, her biggest thing was quote unquote making them time travel. But then the rest of the movie, she just kind of like came and visited them and were like, oh, you're still here? Well, goodbye, you know, and then just like left. Yeah. And I'm like, she didn't do much. She just kind of kept popping in and we're like, oh, you're still here, you know? And so I was not a fan of her. I'll admit, I really liked her design, except for the weird bat wings on her helmet thing. If that was taken off, then I think I would say I really, really like her design. But other than that,
And around this time as well, we're meeting King Arthur's character, and again, I didn't like it, to begin with at least. I was just like, why is it like that? Like, if they're going to believe that they've gone back in time, why are they doing it like this?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's maybe a studio thing, like, oh, we can't let the audience think it's too real, like, type thing. Because all the kind of modern references of, like, King Arthur kind of making modern references and saying
then,
things
do you know
that
what's
he
like...
wouldn't have said. It's like, well, maybe the studio's like, okay, let's not make it too serious now. Like, let's not make the audience think that this is actually supernatural or anything.
I didn't have anything bad to say about this movie until we started recording, believe it or not. All my notes were really positive. And now I'm like, okay, I've got problems with this movie. Yeah. And another one of them is like, it's Daphne and Velma's favourite actor in a wig. How are they not like there with this right now? And it's like, come on, that's ridiculous. I can think of like, if I thought of like actors or actresses that I'm like, okay, yeah, they're like my favourite, they're amazing, I really respect their work, all that kind of stuff. If they put a wig on, I'm still going to know it's them. Like, do you think JayBee has a single bit of confusion between Buffy and Daphne with Sarah Michelle Gellar just because one's got blonde hair and one's got ginger? Like, no, it's so obvious. So for him to put a wig on and they're like, oh my gosh, we've gone back 500 years and this is King Arthur. It's like, oh, come on. You are kidding me. And it takes him taking his top off before they're like, oh, that's who you are. It's like, okay, well, this is a new path for Velma especially. Like, and Daphne, I don't get it. Like, come on, you've just been like bigging her up to this strong character who took on all these men in like jousting competitions and stuff, and now she's like back to only recognizing someone with their top off. Okay, it's odd.
How can you not recognize a face, but you can recognize abs?
It's insane.
Yeah, because there's only so many ways an ab can look. It's not like they've signed it or there's
unless there's like some like diagonal or wavy lines that's like abnormal.
Or like a birthmark or something. But there's nothing. It's just abs. Okay, I couldn't recognize anyone by their abs. I couldn't recognize anyone by anything that's not their face or their voice or anything. I mean, well. I don't know, actually. Well, we'll do a test, maybe, because I actually could maybe pick out a few features of people. You know, like, we'll look into that, I think. We'll look into that.
Next video on the JayBee and Millie channel.
I reckon I could recognise Sarah Michelle Gellar by her arms and her legs. And I reckon I could recognise Millie from those.
Okay, thank you.
We don't know. Again, we'll just look into that. But I'm just saying, like, maybe Daphne and Velma could have done more to
be helpful. And at this point, Velma defines that the lock screen is going to dictate if they are changing, like, history and futures and stuff. And it's like, okay, Velma's believing in time travel now. She keeps saying she's not, but if she's saying stuff like this, then she's, like, there with it. Okay. Velma's not going to be annoying other than the voice a little bit at the start. That's fine.
True.
They change into those kind of outfits that are more, like, fitting with the time, which I think's done quite well. It's just Velma's that I was a bit like, I don't think it fits as well. But the other three, they did really nicely. This is where they go from Crystal Covia. Shaggy lifts the Excalibur to slice the sandwich, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, did you see what he just did? That's amazing. And then that leads to this kind of debate as to who the rightful king is, if it's Shaggy or if it's King Arthur. At this point, Merlin appears, and something that I thought is interesting in this movie is the Fred-Daphne dynamic, and also they do something here and I'm like, is this kind of a Shaggy Velma reference as well? Because when Merlin kind of snaps and everyone moves to their places for this kind of like face-off thing, Velma gets put in the place of the queen, like where King Arthur has, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get this wrong and this is gonna really embarrass me, has Queen something.
Like Guinevere?
Queen Guinevere, thank you. He has Velma, and I'm like, okay, so is Velma taking that role again? And then, so I was like, I just thought it was interesting, the placement there. I don't really know why.
I mean, I have a positive and a negative for this kind of, well, this portion of the film. Obviously, one, I think medieval Daphne is banging. Like, she just looks so good. The outfit design is gorgeous. If they make it a Funko Pop, I'll get, like, if they make it a Barbie, a Funko Pop, this outfit, this fit is absolutely gorgeous. Like, oh, this is like one of the best Daphne
aside
looks
from JayBee stimping, I do actually want to say that the one thing that I really like that they did with the outfit is how they made the green scarf like the top hemline of the dress. I just like, that's actually really interesting, like in terms of how they developed that.
They did the same thing with Scoob as well, just making like the collar, you know, like the Daphne in the Scoob movie, making the collar a bit green. I love it when they make those changes but also adapt it as well. So that's my big positive. My negative though is again connected to another movie. Obviously they don't explicitly state, okay, Merlin's doing real magic or Merlin's doing fake magic, but they don't necessarily need to. But I'm like, how can Merlin be turning into a frog that burps fire and Vincent van Gogh can't do anything? It's just annoyed me how, like, Vincent van Gogh can do nothing. He can't even open a door, yet you've got Nick Frost burping the ABCs in fire. And it's like, okay, you could have just done the same thing. You could have maybe said, oh, is it fake? Is Vincent van Gogh fake? Or maybe he's not at the end of it. But it's like, okay, can we have a bit more, please?
See, I just feel like
consistency.
The producer for this just has some dirt on Warner Brothers, and it was like, I'm gonna do what I want to do, because it's like, okay, this is what Merlin's gonna do, and you know what? Velma, who's the insufferable know-it-all, who says everything has to be real, she's gonna get put with him, and she's gonna learn magic, and she's gonna have to accept some things that she doesn't want to accept, because it's gonna be her that's like, okay, this is how we need to know if we've changed the course of time. This is where we go and learn magic. This is a spell book. We're going to try and cast this spell. And it's like, do you know what, Velma? Here's your punishment for the last 3 movies. You're going to learn that stuff's real. You're going to have to sit and you're going to have to go through it. And you're going to, like, have this huge, like, mental breakdown because of it, where you're, like, thinking that everything you thought was real isn't. Like, I feel like for her, this is more of a crisis than what she went through in Zombie Island, where she was just giggling every 2 seconds because she was going that, like, crazy.
True.
it's kind of like she's going to be put through it in this movie. And like I was saying with like just not doing what Warner Brothers want, again, it's going back to the thing where Scrappy was there, where Bo was there, where magic's real. Even at the end, it's like, oh, is that your friend? Like, and he just turns into a frog again. And it's like,
yeah.
So magic's kind of real in this? Okay, like, I feel like this isn't the movie Warner Brothers wanted. This is interesting.
Honestly.
I mean, I'm all one for rebelling against Warner Brothers. It's just, I mean, I didn't particularly like Merlin in this movie, to be honest. I thought that it was almost a waste of what I know, like, Nick Frost can do, and I don't know, it was nice to have them there, but I really found Merlin to be quite annoying in, like, the movie. Just all the kind of quirks were a bit much, but I do like how they at least could show in some capacity that the world of the supernatural is there, and in hindsight, looking back at it, I'm wondering if they did that with something to do with courage in mind, because without this movie, Warner Brothers and their movies would have been so everything's real, everything can be explained away by like swamp gas or some other technical thing, and then to have courage follow on from that, it's like that would be very jarring. So I don't know if they just needed a character to go, okay, let's ease people back into the idea that some stuff can be a bit weird now, but I don't know.
I just think it was so fun to see Velma have to go through that. Like, okay, after what you've done in the last few movies, it's time for a crash course now in like finally accepting things. It was, like you say, it was an interesting part of the progression. So Velma goes away to learn magic with Merlin, and Fred's going to be the knight in shining armor. He's going to represent Shaggy and like do the showdown with all the other kind of guards of the castle and the men and all that kind of thing. But then the witch freezes Fred and Daphne takes their place. And I'm going to say this is my second favourite Daphne representation. My first is Curse of the 13th Ghost, because I feel like in that was just the best Daphne. But I feel like this is a progression from that. I do feel like there's certain links to this movie, as I was kind of talking about before with like cheerleader Fred and then Daphne being this amazing, strong character. It was very strange that they had to do a full scene going, oh yeah, it's a non-man. Like,
yeah.
I don't get why you're saying a non-man multiple times. And then Shaggy's kind of like, look, where I'm from, women can do these things too. And it's like, okay, good. I'm glad he corrected that.
I mean, maybe they were trying to be more accurate to the time, but it's like they've been so inaccurate with the time that it was pointless to then say, oh, let's have this kind of whole sexist bit where it's like, oh, we're in the past, so ha ha ha, isn't it funny to watch us say stuff like non-man? And it's like, okay, come on, you've had like, you know, King Arthur saying, oh, check out the bling, I'm a super dope king and everything, and go, oh, but we're going to keep this part in. A bit unnecessary. Yes. Bit unnecessary. But yes, Knight Daphne, amazing, absolutely incredible. Her arm makes me adore her. Did you like that one?
No.
But this would be the perfect soda to have Daphne. You could have Knight Daphne as a Funko soda, and the chase is either the helmet on or the helmet off. Funko, please, do it. Hire me and I'll design it. Oh, Knight Daphne is incredible. I just think that, and I think this is...
Okay, that's enough. No, this is a good thing, though, because... a really nice relationship with Shaggy and King Arthur. Look, we need to cut the simping short, okay? Right. It is sweet, but it's just not sweet today. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So Shaggy and King Arthur also have this really nice relationship too. It's sweet. Do you have any comments on that?
No.
Okay. What I want to say is after Daphne's taken on all these people, we meet I think they call them the Black Knight, and they're more terrifying than the actual villain. Like, they're scarier than the dragon,
right?
And the witch. I was like, I want to see more of them, especially when they're like, okay, let's do this unmasking. And you see this like blue skeleton. I was like, okay. I want to see more of that.
Please.
Oh yeah, like Morgan Le Fay was being annoying at this point. It's like it was very repetitive. It was just show up, annoy people, disappear, and continue. But I think the best thing that they do in the movie is introducing us to the Black Knight. And I just like that for all they get Merlin involved, they let Daphne and Velma deal with it to an extent. You know, obviously Merlin's the one that lands the coup de grace, but I like how that was integrated into things a bit more. And I feel like in terms of what they can accomplish, that I feel like this is what the Samurai Sword should have been. Because a movie of that era, I feel like, would make a way of, like, they freeze Daphne, they freeze Fred, and suddenly Scooby needs to put the armor on and he saves the day, and everyone's like, oh, you know, praise King Scooby, which is fun and it's cute, but I think it's good to, you know, highlight these other characters as well.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say that, like, all Velma, Daphne, and Fred get moments in this movie where they get that character level too as well. One thing that I think is really funny at this point of the movie is Velma actually tries to cast a spell to get Merlin there to help. And it's like, what's happened to you? 2 movies ago, I was genuinely concerned because, like, this was all getting too much for you that things could be real. And now you're stood casting a spell. I don't get it. I don't know what happened, but okay.
Who are you?
And then so then Shaggy also gets kidnapped, but then she's like, the future's fading, look at this. And it's like, you believe this? Like, what? You're there with this? I was shocked. Like,
who slipped her a drink?
Yeah, like, what smoke are they spraying this time? Because Velma doesn't act this way. Is this a dream? Did they all fall and hit their heads? Like, did the mystery machine crash in that chase at the start and that's what this is?
Well, it's interesting because I always stand by that. I'm glad that this was our reintroduction movie back into Scooby, because what I was gonna say before Millie interrupted me very rudely and unnecessarily was a lot of things that I like about Scooby are present in this. So, for example, Daphne being the fighter and the warrior is something I like in the live action films and in, like, Zombie Island. And so I'm like, okay, they've kept that the same. Velma being logical to the point where she's not annoying, like, oh, this is fake, this is fake. She's kind of working around the logic that's presented and finding the logical explanation and the conclusion of the predicament they're in. I really like that. And so watching this, I could have fooled myself into thinking that nothing had changed since, like, I stopped watching. It was just they'd continued to elaborate on those points. But this is a rarity, like Millie's saying. Like, I feel like Daphne in the past was very wacky, like in Happy Halloween, the, you know, stealing Elvira's clothes, and Velma throughout the past couple of movies has been insufferable with denying things. Whereas here it's almost like they've wiped out the last couple of movies, not just in continuity, because this isn't in that trilogy, but in everything they've kind of just gone, well, let's see what ideas we've not done for a while and kind of reused them a bit, which I enjoyed.
Yeah.
And then, like we were saying, they also build on Fred's character a lot. Like, it's coming up to the bit where he's like, did someone say traps? And I was like, okay, Fred's got a character. Like, I feel like, you know, speaking about with John Colton Barry, like, is that I want to make sure all the characters at this point have some substance. And I feel like in this movie, they ticked off each character. Like, okay, Fred's doing a callback to almost like him being like a cheerleader again. He's going to talk about traps, so we've got some Mystery Incorporated vibes too. Daphne, we've got some kind of be cool, like, personalities at the start. Then she's going to be like the samurai sword, like, warrior, the, you know, independent one in Curse of the 13th Ghost. Velma is going to have a very un-Velma character arc, but that's what's going to make it interesting for her. Like, I feel like they made sure that all of the gang had that box ticked of this is each individual story as well as how they come together. One thing that I also really liked was the mystery machine cart, you know, when they're gonna go and rescue Shaggy. I was like, okay, because obviously this time they don't have cars. I like this, how they use the pattern. It's something that I do really enjoy, like when they don't have the mystery machine and they're like, let's throw the mystery machine pattern on this mode of transport. Like, let's put it on a cart. Let's put it on an aeroplane. I don't know. It's fun.
Yeah, it's cheesy as heck, but I'm so weak for that pattern that they could stick it on anything, and I'd want to get.
Yeah, I'm just like, let's just use it as movie inspiration. Like, the next one has to be about a submarine that's going to be covered in the Mystery Machine pattern. The next one's going to be on a boat that's covered in the Mystery Machine pattern. They can just keep doing that.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then they arrive at the place where they've got Shaggy, and it's just a series of traps. And again, this is where they kind of build on Fred's character a lot, because it's like, okay, he's the trap person. How's he going to get them through it? And it's absolutely ridiculous to watch, because there's blades swinging in front of Daphne's face, fire breathing at the back of Velma's head, and honestly, there is no way that they'd have got through that. But it's really fun seeing him like build this almost boat-looking thing to then catapult them through it. It's like, do you know what? It was funny. There's no way that that would have worked. It would have led to the most horrific scenes if this was played out realistically. But it was funny. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, I from what they were building, I was almost expecting like a Roman-style turtle thing, you know, where you've got like various parts of like the shield all around surrounding it. So it was like, no matter if there's like arrows flying to us, it's just gonna bounce off. I wasn't expecting it to just be like, let's go so quickly, like none of the weapons have a chance to get us. But it was just so fun, and it didn't take itself too seriously as well. It was just massive catapult that's going to project them through things. It wasn't trying to be too logical. I think it was just fun. But what I'm going to say is, I don't think it's fun enough. Like, I had a lot of fun watching it for the first time. Maybe I was just tired, but I was a bit bored with the fact that Morgan Le Fay isn't shown to be dangerous whatsoever, to the point where just before this scene they're just like stood around, floating around, wondering when things are going to happen, because the characters are just tied up with other things, and she's just there looking bored. And it's like, well, okay, if the monster isn't dangerous, make it fun, you know, add jokes in, add a really cool soundtrack, a really catchy chase song. And they didn't. It was almost like they were gonna it was almost like they were trying to have the best of both worlds. They were making them almost meant to be dangerous, but we knew that they weren't dangerous. That was the thing that I was like,
yeah, like again, I'm briefly skimming over quite a few things here, but like she's like kidnapped Shaggy, but her way of doing that is he's got this absolute banquet of food. So again, it's like, okay, well, what was the real fear there then? Like, he's literally locked in around all this treasure with a banquet. Like, I feel like he's okay. He's in his happy place. I'm not worried about it at all. And then, like, even when they're getting chased by the dragon, which is a little bit intimidating, there's this scene where, like, they get hit on the head or something, or they get burnt, and they just look like... I think there's a scene in The Lion King where the hyenas get hit on the head and they're just wobbling around. And they just like that. It's like, what good are you going to do? It looks like you're about to fall over. Like, where's the threat here? I kind of don't see it.
I was thinking, weirdly, the dragon in this reminded me a bit of the hyenas. I think it was the mane, you know, like the hair that they... I actually didn't dislike the design for the dragon. I just feel like if they made it more faithful to the box art, it would have been like 10 times cooler.
Right.
Yeah, the box art does look better for the dragon. So once they get through the traps, there's this moment with Fred and Daphne where she's like, I knew you could do it. And there's some like nice moments with them in this movie, but that aren't built on too much. Like, so when Fred was about to go out and like represent Shaggy in the kind of showdown, Daphne kissed him on the cheek, and then Scooby did, and he looks at Scooby like, oh, thanks, kind of like, okay, ruining a moment here. And then again, Daphne says something nice, and then at the end, once the reveals happen, there's this moment where they're almost stood together on a balcony as well, and it's like, I don't know, I feel like they did hints to their relationship in this, but without like drawing on it too much. But then that's kind of contrasted by like when she recognised the actor literally based off his abs, that'd normally be the time when Fred's like rolling his eyes or sounds really unhappy about it. And it just, he was just like, oh my God, it's them, that's amazing. And it's like, okay.
I mean,
contrasted with what you'd normally do there.
I wouldn't say that they were a very threatening person, to be honest, though, because the guy's literally got the same hairstyle as Velma.
Yeah, and he's talking, but this is the thing, he doesn't look old, right? And he's like, oh, it's nearly retirement time, I've been doing this for 30 years. And it's like, you don't look that old. I don't get it.
Yeah.
And if you're talking about abs like that, like, I don't feel like it's a retirement time. Or that they've been acting for 30 years. And like JayBee said, the hair was a bit peculiar.
But people can look a lot younger than they are. Like, I don't know if it was like I was Googling just to be weird, if I was like, but whatever age John Colton Barry actually is, I'd say minus 20 years.
Yeah.
Because they are a very youthful looking person.
Like, you were telling me they were in their 50s, and they definitely don't look anything above their 30s.
It might have been 50. I don't know. I will have to like check, but they do not look. I mean, I'd say they look about our age in a way, like very youthful. And even like your dad, Millie, looks very young for their age. So I can believe that perhaps he's a bit older. I don't buy that he's old enough to have like a 30 years career. But this Thunder, I don't know. I guess when like they're doing voice work in the kind of continuity of this program, they can start whenever, right? Because Frank Welker's been playing Fred for forever, and they've kind of maintained their age all throughout, character-wise.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Okay, and then so when they find Shaggy, he's in this room of treasure, and it's like, how do they not touch on that there is this huge treasure that's like the Cave of Wonders? I don't get how that's just meant to have been forgotten about. It's like, okay.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, because it's not mentioned since. What they instead do is do this scene where King Arthur, Shaggy, and Scooby have this great time eating food, pretending they're playing poker with it, and then they're like, okay, we're done eating, it's time to go. Who forgets that there's enough here to buy the town 5 times over? Back to what we were doing. And it's like, all right, okay. And then when Velma looks at the phone, the picture's gone. And I've literally drawn a picture of someone rolling their eyes here, because it's like, how are you meant to be the smart one? This is annoying, to say the very least. It's like, is this phone new to you? Do you not know that it needs to be charged? That it's going to run out of battery? Like, this is stupid. I'm sorry. That's the only word for it. So this is when we find out Shaggy signed the throne away, and then we have the dragon chase scene back up through the traps. And I was just like, I've put in my notes, I feel like we could have had a really good chase song here.
And it was good. It was just reused. Like, I was bored of it, to be honest.
No
like, we'd heard it in, wait, what? Wasn't it the da-da, da-da-da-da-da, like the one that was used in the main menu, and in the travelling montage, and now in this chase song?
I literally didn't even hear any music. I just kept hearing the dragon do this weird noise, and I was like, oh no. I really want a good song that's like, there. I guess like you're saying, there was maybe some undertone music, but like for me, I was just like, I need music because I'm sick of just hearing this mechanical noise from the dragon.
I mean, there's a lot of songs that they could have used. Even reused songs I wouldn't mind. Like, if it was from another movie, one that I hadn't heard in a while. But it was just the same song over and over again, then I was like, sick of it. And again, because we've established that no one's going to get hurt or no one's in any serious danger, let's just have a really fun, like, air chase scene where the dragon's flying and just have a nice song, but nothing.
No. So then they're making their escape, and King Arthur holds the drawbridge open, at which point they kind of fall and end up in the dragon's mouth. And Velma sees this flashback from Merlin, like, oh, you're going to know how to use this book when it matters. She throws it into the dragon's mouth, and the dragon blows up. Now, I've got an issue with this scene, and I replayed it to make sure I was right, and I was. So King Arthur falls into the dragon's mouth. They stay in the dragon. There's then a scene where they are stood with the gang, and then it cuts to the dragon being blown up, and he's in pieces on the floor with the witch because he was in the dragon. So they've animated it wrong and made it that he was stood with the gang when he was meant to have been eaten at that point.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I remember that.
I was like, oh gosh. Did you not have the story set in place at this point? Was there some issues?
I'm very observant compared to you
reused
guys.
stuff? Yes, but I rewound it, didn't I, to show you that I wasn't like making it up and that I had gone crazy. But I feel like stuff like this, I just notice it. Like when we were watching the bonus scenes on Daphne and Velma, and they'd spelt Daphne wrong in the background for the hair and makeup department. Like, I feel like not everyone's gonna pick up on that. But I just see stuff, like, you know how you hear stuff, like you heard the music in the chasing that I didn't hear? I see stuff the way that you hear stuff, like,
I probably am
it's
thinking about a difference, and I might be thinking about the chasing that happens slightly later on. But I don't know. I'm not sure.
Anyway, so that was, like, the mistake. Then they get back, and Velma's like, oh, well done, everybody. It was all a show. And it's like, I don't see when you worked that out, because you were like crying that the timeline had gone forever, but okay, let's just pretend that you knew this, because I don't believe you did. So they're like, that's the end of the show, everybody. And then they unmask the librarian, which obviously wasn't a shock to anybody at that point. And they explained that they thought it was because Shaggy was going to claim the land. And so they did this plan to make him sign it over. And then he said something really funny. And I was like, I like that a lot. Which was when he was like, yeah, I didn't want the land. Like, we have seen people do some really crazy stuff over, like, owning land.
Right.
Like, I'm not about that. I don't want any land. I don't want that. Like,
Not
we've
about
seen
that
people
life.
go crazy, just no. And so I like that. I like it when they do, like, they call back to things, but do it well. And I don't know, I just thought that was, like, quite funny. And then we find out that the librarian like kind of swapped documents or whatever, so the land was transferred over to her. She then hijacks the mystery machine to drive back to the town of Norville, where she's going to post the letter. And so King Arthur's like, I've got a spare dragon. Let's get on that. Let's run across the land on this dragon. Let's fly on this dragon and stop them from posting this letter. Which is, it's fine, it is what it is. It just looks a bit strange. And then it's like a party at the end, and they allude to Merlin being real, which is like, okay, so you want to kind of keep the continuity then that stuff can be real after you've just gone out of your way to debunk it, like to like get rid of like Scooby history in the last few movies, but and like make it unreal. No, make it unreal.
It just annoys me that they'll actively go out of the way to debunk it when it's like properties and movies that people have nostalgia for and that they love. But for a new thing, they're like, oh, well, now it's okay to show it and allude to it. And it's like, oh, please, Warner Brothers, go bankrupt and someone buy this damn studio, please. Like, and again, I'm real. I'm a real person. I'm not gonna say, oh, let's be nice to Warner Brothers because maybe we'll get a sponsorship. No, please just go bust. Like somebody buy this damn studio, please. I pray. But that's enough about me. I'm done.
Okay, and with that, I think the movie is too. That's the end.
Finn.
We went back to watch the special features. There was a couple of good episodes there. We wondered if they'd be linked to some of the flashback scenes, but from what I recall, they weren't in the special features. That was just individual stuff on its own.
Like a Scooby Doo and Dynamite thing.
There's one that's, again, like a Shaggy ancestor. There's What a Night for Fright.
Oh yeah, there were like two where okay.
So yeah, that was just what that was. But, sorry.
It's a missed opportunity again, because they should have put some Thundar episodes on there.
They should, or they should have used it as an opportunity to make the Flintstones relevant, and why they did that in the like montage scene or something.
Yeah,
But
right.
no, they just maybe didn't explain that very well.
They've just got a bit lazy, I think, because again, like I was praising them for like, yay, they've got some British actors to do these roles because they're in the UK and because people are going to know Jason Isaacs from stuff. It was you know, like in Aloha Scooby Doo and in like those old movies there, they did behind the scenes of the actors in the studio recording lines. And I just think even a few clips of Jason Isaacs or Nick Frost doing some of the voices from the movie would have been absolutely fantastic to see, but they've just not bothered.
What I'd say, and I don't know if it was Lillard that spoke about this at some point, but I'm guessing around this time, this movie came out when COVID was a thing. Because it was a year ago when this came out.
Yes.
And I believe it was him said, or was it even Frank Welker? Somebody said in some interview or something that they all ended up with home recording studios. So I'm guessing there wasn't any footage of them recording. It was send me these lines.
But then I would have liked to have thought that the studio could have gone, please just turn the camera on and record it, like how Frank Welker recorded their stuff for the reunion special in their like home recording studio. And we know Jason Isaacs has a webcam. Like, just stick a webcam on these people and just say, right, can you have 2 minutes of saying, or just doing the voice or something? Like, just, I don't know. I just missed the bonus features.
Okay. So that concludes on this movie, and it certainly didn't go the way I was expecting it to. Like I said, I was very positive going into this, so kind of took a turn that I wasn't prepared for. So I don't know how that happened, but I feel like it's the time that we make our decision on whether this was a smash or pass movie. So JayBee, as always, we start with you.
So I think that this is the perfect movie for me for the time. I think if it was the movie next and the movie before, maybe the whole podcast wouldn't exist in the first place. Maybe we wouldn't have got back to this world, because I think ever since doing the reaction video with Smash, the whole journey has been, let's catch up on what we missed, let's do it right, let's go movie by movie and get a love and appreciation for what we've missed out on. And I think this was the perfect gateway for that. And that being said, I think this, looking back at it for the notes and stuff, I didn't have a lot of fun with this movie, to be honest, at the end of it. And I think that I was getting bored. I was just wondering when it was going to end at times. But I think there's a lot in it that I absolutely do love. You know, like the Daphne character being strong, Velma being so much less annoying, and obviously Matthew Lillard's performance is incredible. It's just, I actually don't know. Like, I'm kind of waffling a bit because I don't know what I'm going to say. Like, I don't know what my verdict's going to be, because I owe a lot to the movie, but at the same time, it bored me in a way that, say, I could watch Return to Zombie Island and I could at least have a laugh, or I can be that invested that I'm getting angry at some parts. Whereas this, it's like, it's on, but what's it doing to me? I'm just kind of watching it, and if it's like a 16-minute long movie, okay, all I'm getting is I am now 60 minutes older than I was at the start of it. So, thanks for that. Like, would I watch it again? Yes. And so I think I'm going to smash it. But in terms of rewatching it, it's very, very at the bottom of my list in terms of ones that I'll put on next. So, Millie, would you smash or pass Scooby-Doo, The Sword and the Scoob?
See, I agree with pretty much everything you've said, which is rare. But I do, like, the first time we watched this movie, and I want to say the only time I'd watched this movie was when we did the video on Smash's channel. And I loved the movie then. I was like, this is amazing. It's just like classic Scooby. There's this twist at the end. There's an unmasking. You know, the voice is a bit different for Velma. But other than that, this is the Scooby I grew up loving. Before I knew that there was Lego movies, there was a Batman Scooby Doo movie. Before I knew any of that had even happened, this was coming back to Scooby after What's New Scooby Doo, and I was happy with what it was. And I loved it. It was great. And then watching it again today, this was only the second time I'd watched it, I was like, I don't remember it being this bad. Like, I don't remember it being this obvious, this tiresome. I don't remember the dragon's voice being this bad. I don't remember them making a mistake with the visual where King Arthur was there. I don't remember their character being this, like, strange. It was like, kind of not feeling it as much. So Because it's one that I've always said to JayBee, like, when he's like, oh, what do we watch? Do you want to choose a Scooby movie or narrow it down to 3 Scooby movies and I'll choose one? Quite often I'm like, oh, Sword and the Scoob, Zombie Island, and Witch's Ghost, choose one. And it's just never been one that he's been like, yeah, that's the one we're going to rewatch. So I guess I've not evaluated till today that it maybe just had so much positivity because it was the first one back. So it's not as great as I thought it was. That being said, I'd watch it again. I don't think it was terrible. I just don't think it was particularly good. So I'm going to say smASH, but like, I feel like at this point I'm starting to be ready to do a tier list because I feel like smASH and pass just aren't enough layers to what's behind these answers anymore. And I know we said when we get to the movies, a tier list is maybe something that we'd look at doing together. Because I feel like for all JayBee and I have said smASH on this movie, I feel like it's not like an absolute smash like Zombie Island. So yeah. 2 smashes so far. Smash, what about you? Smash or pass for this movie?
You know, I'm kind of in the same boat where I was like, I'm going into it to be so positive, like this is such a fun one, and then you kind of talk about it and think about it, and you're like, oh, wait. But like, okay, so overall, I think this movie is a fun one. I liked the concept of time travel, even though they didn't really. I think one of my biggest gripes with this movie originally when I watched it is, which then it makes sense, by the end explanation, but just that they like didn't really go anywhere. They didn't really explore much. They were very in this secluded area. And even the cave that they went to was just very much this little portion. The dragon was very disappointing to me. I can't stand its voice, which we've already talked about. I do, although, love that they incorporated like another kind of obscure Hanna-Barbera property into it, because I definitely think Scooby Doo is the Hanna-Barbera franchise to reintroduce these other characters from Hanna-Barbera. So I was like, ooh, this is fun that they're bringing back Thundar, one that unless you grew up with it, you probably have never heard of. Kind of like how they were doing with Blue Falcon and Dynomutt and Captain Caveman and everything. So I think there's a lot of things that they did, okay, that their intentions were good. It just almost, I'm wondering if part of it is COVID, but it almost seems like, as they were working on it and COVID hit, they were like, nuts, how are we going to hurry and get this done? And, there's some sloppy things that you can see throughout it. Like we mentioned, King Arthur just standing behind them all when he's supposed to be supposedly eaten. And, there's just little things here and there that's a little like, I guess I would have liked that better or that, but nothing's perfect, and we're always gonna have something to gripe about. Like we're never gonna be 100% pleased. That's just who we are as humans. So, but I think for what this movie was, I think it was fun, and it's not gonna be one that I will instantly like, ooh, let's put that one in, But it's one that I still think I would put in above a handful of others. And I definitely think it's one of the better ones, I'll say, in recent years, just all things considered. So that's, I think I'm kind of in the same boat of, I'm gonna smash it, but it's gonna be a lighter smash.
Okay, so that's like a unanimous decision on a smash for Scooby Doo, Sword and the Scoob. So a few things for the end of this video. First of all, next week we'll be taking a look at Scooby Doo and Courage the Cowardly Dog. So that is one that we're really looking forward to. It does mark kind of the end of the movies that we set out to do. So I guess it's kind of a big movie from that point, but also we have kind of established other things that we're going to be reviewing and stuff like that, so it's not like the last video. I also know we're going to be doing community news, and we said we'd be doing the giveaway for the box of Scooby Doo trading cards at the end of this video as well. So I guess community news first, JayBee?
Yeah, so one that announced, I forget where I saw it, but there's this company that's doing like some statues of some of the classic monsters, some of the kind of people there, like, but I'm just like, this is crap. Like, they're one, too expensive, and two, they're going to be impossible to get in the UK. So I guess if you've got disposable income when you're in America, it's fine. I mean, the designs look amazing, but I'm just like, oh, okay, whatever. So there's that's going on.
I guess in like channel news, this is coming out on the Saturday. On Sunday, we have our interview with David Newman.
Is that right, or is it Monday?
Yeah, sorry, this comes out on Saturday. On Monday, it's the 14th, which will be the David Newman interview, which I believe is at the first of our Scooby celebrations.
Yeah, the first of the 2002 20th anniversary celebrations, an interview with David Newman. However, if you do want to see an interview a little bit before then, our interview with Crystal Mary Asaf has gone out yesterday, so I hope that people have checked that out. We all wore red for the CHD, didn't we? And that was just amazing. I love that so much.
Thank you.
Oh, I had a lot of fun with that one. If anyone's in the premiere or watching this, comment down below if you've been able to check that out. I did have a concept I wanted to run by anyone listening to this, and it's something I thought about semi recently, but I've never discussed it. I almost want to set up something where it's a bit more interactive, because the one thing that I appreciate about having a relatively kind of small, low-key audience is the fact that we can get away with a lot that we couldn't really if there was actively, I don't want to say backlash, but actively a continuous narrative going on. But one thing that I do really like is I almost wish that we had, or that I personally had, more criticism. I wish that I had more people telling me that I was wrong, because I feel like since regretting passing on Monster of Mexico, I found every excuse in history to then smash every single movie since, pretty much, with like a few odd exceptions. And I just kind of wish that more people were kind of in the comments going, oh, JayBee is an idiot, why is he doing this, why is he doing that? But kind of in replacement of that, I did have a concept where we kind of like gave an email or something out at the end of episodes to say, do you want to be in this episode? Like, this is going to be the next movie. Either send in an audio clip or a video thing of you giving your thoughts about the episode or like the movie, and we might include it at the end of the verdict. So I don't know. So if anyone wants to see something like that, maybe comment down below. But I don't know. Just a concept. Smash, did you have any community news?
Well, speaking just off of that, we don't have to talk about it here on the podcast. I can talk to you guys about it afterwards. But I have an idea if you guys, might like, but I'll run that with you guys once we're done recording. Anyway, community news. Wow, I can't talk. Community news from me. Not really. I mean, as of recording this, just put out my first reaction of the year, which is for the new Jurassic World Dominion, which has nothing to do with Scooby, but I'm just really hyped about and can't stop thinking about right now, so...
Yeah, I can't wait to watch that, because it just brings everything full circle, because obviously we all got introduced because of the Jurassic World game, and now there's this new movie coming out. I'm hoping... I don't know if there's like different release dates for UK and US, but whatever date comes out, I want to go and see it. And then hopefully we're just going to get on a Zoom call or a Discord call and go, oh my gosh, how cool was that? So yeah, please do keep an eye out on Smash's channel for that awesome reaction. I can't wait. When do you know? Actually, no, because by then it would have come out, but we're going to watch it.
Right now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I put it up right before we started recording.
Curse you. I wanted to watch it. I will straight after this. But I guess...
With that, it's time for the giveaway. So this was a giveaway we did over on...
But are we doing it now?
Yeah.
Okay, let me get my thing. You just talk.
Okay. So So yeah, this is a giveaway we did over on our Instagram. It was basically just a thing to comment on the post saying who your favorite member of the gang was. And then everything was entered into a draw, which we're going to do now. It's for a sealed booster box of the first series of Scooby Doo cards, I believe.
It's the third, I think chronologically it's the second series that Inkworks did, because obviously there was 2002 movie, and I think these were 2003.
Yeah, it was the ones for the animated series, right?
Yeah, I'm just recording like the bowl on my phone in case there's any disputes on stuff. It's not going to be edited in or anything, but I guess if someone wants to contact me in outrage and go, how do I know that this isn't fixed or anything, just I'll send you this.
Okay, so I'm just mixing up the little envelopes that we put all the names in. I was honestly doing this for like an hour today. So.
Now, I do want to say, we do have another box of these. As of yet, we've not even spoken about giving it away.
We want to do something with it, either give
do...
individual packs away, a box giveaway.
Yeah, so if you have entered into this giveaway and your name isn't drawn today, if there's enough support in the comment section on giving away something else or something similar, then let us know, because we are open to do as many giveaways as possible. In my ideal world, we would be doing a giveaway once a week, yeah. So let us know.
Okay, so we're choosing an envelope now. This one's fine. Okay, let's go. Not
Thank you
this
so
very
much,
gracefully.
everyone, for entering.
Okay, so the winner is Scare a Lot, and they said their favorite gang member was Scooby Doo.
Hey, so that is absolutely amazing.
Hey.
I guess the beauty of it being on Instagram is that if that is you, just message us on the accounts that you entered in, and we'll get all that set up. And again, if your name wasn't drawn this time, please let us know in the comment section if you want us to do another giveaway, or if you've seen something on our Instagram that you do like the look of, we can try and get, like, you know, say if you like one of the movie story cards, if you can go, okay, can you look into giving that away? I'll definitely be up for looking for duplicates for a giveaway, so there's potential, What else? I think that's it. I think I've got to say, I think this has been one of our best episodes of the podcast, because I feel like it was fun but to the point, but also it's just such a different from the chaos that was the Happy Halloween episode. But
yeah,
I think that this is one of my favorite episodes. So thank you everyone for being part of it. And again, the next week episode is kind of the end of a bit of an era, but it's fun.
For now.
Ooh.
So yeah, I think that does it for this week's episode. Thank you so much to everybody for listening. Links to smASH's channel will be in the description below for that reaction trailer we talked about, this Sword and the Scoob reaction, and whatever else is upcoming as well. So links will be down there for that. And also subscribe to our channel for more of the Smash or Pass videos of the movies, hopefully the series quite soon after, and also some of the really exciting interviews we have going on at the minute as well. Like
There's
we said,
a lot lined up.
There is a lot lined up, a lot already recorded that we're really excited to be getting out, like we said, including the David Newman interview.
We just recorded an interview the other day that is scheduled to go out sometime in April.
The 14th of April.
So...
It is the third of the Scooby Doo 2002 20th anniversaries that we'll be doing. They'll be released on, hopefully providing we get this right, the 14th of each month on the build up to the 14th of June, which is the overall anniversary of the 2002 movie first been released in cinemas in the US. So that's the plan for everything that's happening, everything for you to stay up to date on. So yeah, for that, please like, comment and subscribe to JayBee and Millie. smASH's details will be below. And again, thank you so much for listening.
Woo.
Ooh.